these are three areas that I've seen excellent results in terms of saving as much time as possible and still being able to sort of generate the same sort of consistency and communication that you would do normally, right? So the core goals when we're working with companies and when we're building these things out for ourselves, as much as we're an AI-based company, an automation-based company, I love these tools. I think they're amazing. My goal here is to get more humans spending more time with other humans. We are a human-centric company, believe it or not, right? And my goal is to remove the mundane and repetitive and get people actually spending time with people, right? So the great thing about sales, marketing, and business development, in particular, the research aspect of all of those, I've spent time on all three of those areas, right? And I've spent considerable amount of time in terms of business development, finding out about a company, why I need to target them, who in that company I need to target. This is days and days worth of research in some situations to find all the information I need. I can reduce that down to maybe a handful of hours and I can have a much larger database out at the end of it. And then I can spend more time trying to build those relationships. The people that I sit down with and the explorations that we do, in almost every one of those conversations, they will tell me, do you know what? I say, what do you want to spend more time doing? And they say, I want to spend more time speaking to our clients. I want to spend more time with those people, building those relationships, making them stronger. And then in turn, that will yield better results. That will yield, more business, everything like that. So we're seeing, generally speaking, that we can increase the profit per employee with especially areas like this. These are really three core areas. Right. So is my clicker working? Oh, hang on, let's get back in the room, shall we? Quicker, right. So I've saved hundreds, if not thousands of hours for businesses and for myself. I must save myself, a good few hours every single day. And I'll show you a couple of the automations that I've built that allow me to do that and ways that you can do that as well. And our goal, our mission is to give back 1 billion hours by 2045. Right, that's our focus. We're trying to do that. We've got, as I say, a good few hours, few thousand hours banked, and hopefully it's going to compound to get us to that goal. But believe it or not, many years ago, I used to be a chef. Right, and I was a chef for quite a few years. I've worked all over Essex and Suffolk and various different areas and restaurants I'm sure all of us would have heard of. And the reason I mention that is to explain that I had no understanding of technology. So if you look back, sort of 20 years ago, when I was still a chef, I didn't really understand technology. I didn't know what it was capable of. And I've gone from that, someone who was basically technologically illiterate, to someone who's using these tools frequently. And what that means is that it's not that difficult. Right, being really honest, if I can do it, then it's something that we can all do, just because I spend all of my time doing it. So my suggestion is focus on something that is going to add value and get very, very good at that, right? I suppose you could say I'm a bit more of a mad scientist now, right? And then on the weekends, a pirate, why not? Yeah. Okay. You may have guessed that these images were AI generated. Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize, even the chef one, believe it or not, I couldn't find an image of me as a chef, probably not one that I would put publicly anyway. Right, I don't know if you know what goes on in kitchens. That's not that bad, I'm joking. But you can see, I've got a little bit of a spoon fork thing kind of going on there that gives it away. But I produced these images nearly a year ago. So the technology that's available now compared to what was going on there, it would be indistinguishable without some sort of other AI to tell you whether or not it was an AI generated image, basically. You're just not going to be able to know. And you can turn these things into videos and various other different things. So it's just interesting to see that nearly a year ago, I was able to produce, and it's easier to do. So I had to give it about 20 or 30 images of myself to be able to do this. Now there are ones you can give one image of yourself and it does a pretty good job. Who knows what nano banana is? David, 2 hands.
I love it.
Love Nano Banana. Love Nano Banana. So Nano Banana is Google's new AI image editing tool. Absolutely fantastic. We can give it a go today, but you can literally give it images of yourself or anything that you want and ask it to change it into a different scene. You can put 2 photos together. It's marvelous. And they were very clever with the way they launched it. And I just read the other day that they overtook GPT as the most popular app because of this Nano Banana. But they released it without anybody knowing it was them. And then when everybody was like, oh my God, Nano Banana is amazing. They were like, oh yeah, that was us. That's us. And now it says Nano Banana all over it when you go onto Gemini. Who uses Gemini? Anybody? David? Nobody uses Gemini? That's fine. It is fantastic. Who's Google Workspace? Google Workspace. Anybody else Google Workspace? Oh, really? Are we in a Microsoft room? Oh, blimey. Well, admittedly, yeah, I know. I admittedly, I bleed Google, but a lot of Microsoft tools, they have come out with some really, really amazing functionality. I have to admit, it pains me to admit it, but they have got some really, really good functionality. But the reason I say that is Gemini is included in a Google Workspace subscription. So you have all of the functionality of that within your subscription, so it's worth using it. All right. So I'm going to show you a few of the tools that I've developed that help me day to day that have been incredibly valuable. As I mentioned before, company research is one of them. So what I'll show you, hopefully the video plays, we'll see what it looks like. But essentially I've got a video here. And on this video, on the right-hand side, who knows what Perplexity is? Yeah, Perplexity is one of my favorites. It's a really, really good tool for internet-based AI searches. I found it get really great results from it. Gives me a little bit less than GPT. So I tend to use that. So on the right-hand side, I've asked Perplexity to dive in, do a bit of research on Matt Parkins, the AI guys. And on the left-hand side, I've built an AI agent that I've connected through to WhatsApp. And WhatsApp is just an interface. It's no different to if you have a chat interface on a website. I've just connected it via an API. And that's going to go off and do the research. So you can see that on the right-hand side, before it went there, so I get an email through as well. So the one that's on WhatsApp there will actually send me the summary and email. And then the one that's on the right, Perplexity, will show me the results as well. So in a very short space of time, I know that was quite a quick recording, on Perplexity, I can get quite a great deal of information about a specific person within a company if that's publicly available. Whereas prior to that, I would have obviously had to do the searches and find the information. I remember the days where I literally used to have to do a search and then copy and paste multiple records into a spreadsheet, one after the other. And now you can do that really easily. So even with agent mode, you can give it access to a database and it can go off and it can then do the copy and pasting for you if you give it access to do that. So that's one really powerful. Company research has saved me huge amounts of time. YouTube analysis. We all watch YouTube, right? Yeah, we all use it for educational reasons. I'm sure there are lots of cat videos we've all watched as well. How many of us see a YouTube video and go, I don't have time to watch that today. I'm not going to have time to watch that, right? It's a common thing for me. So the way that I went about that is I either use something called Notebook LM, which is included in your Google subscription if you're Google. And what you can do is you can take a YouTube video link, but you can take any other source of information as well, websites, etc., etc. I can give it the YouTube video link, and then it will open up an AI-powered chat that I can speak to. I can also generate a conversation. I don't know if anybody's used Notebook LM, but you can literally generate a podcast that will be talking about it. And then I can ask questions about the YouTube video. So I can have multiple YouTube videos in there. On the left-hand side, similar thing. I built an agent onto WhatsApp and I can send it the YouTube video. It will send me a summary of the video as well. And it saves me huge amounts of time because some of these videos are 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. And even though I do watch on 2x speed and I do talk on 2x speed most of the time, it still takes time to do that. So for me, that saved huge amounts of time rather than having to sit through those videos and see probably 80% of the information that I already know to find the 20% that I don't. I can send that off to one of these AI tools, Notebook LM and our WhatsApp tool, to be able to give me the summary. I've given access to that WhatsApp tool to some of our clients. One of the other really cool things, hopefully this will work. And then I can even get the AI to create a script summary of the video or article and send it out to customers in my voice. I thought that was pretty cool. Did that sound like me?
Yeah.
Sounded a lot like me, didn't it? That was not me. That was an AI generated version of my voice. I did that several months ago, right? So that you know what platform I use, is a company called 11 Labs. It's one of the most popular voice AI tools, really, really powerful tool. They've recently released a music generation version of it as well. So you can actually create music and various other bits and bobs like that. So that's just to give you an idea of some of the things that are possible with AI that are just amazing, right? So the applications of that is if you're looking to create content at scale that's still valuable. And I think the key here is there are going to be people that use AI just to chuck content out and it will be clearly AI and it will be rubbish. And then there will be those people that use AI to help them with their content and continue to produce really, really high quality content. The value of that is that you'll still continue to shine through the noise of people that can't be asked to actually do anything, but it gives you the opportunity to produce more content. So you can use like that, the voice summary, which could be a podcast that you produce on a weekly basis that's automated. You make sure that it's accurate and that could go out on the website, right? It could be a summary of one of my videos because we do videos like this fairly frequently. I can take that, get a summary made, and then it can be in my voice, which can go out on the website, right? So there's lots of different applications of these tools. What does it mean for SMEs? Which is one of the things that I said I'd talk about, right? And I genuinely believe that there's a huge opportunity for small businesses here because as it stands, these tools are not that expensive, especially when you compare some of the other software products out there. I know companies that are spending £5,000 a month on a CRM, just on a CRM, which is a lot of money to be spending on a CRM. But now there's an opportunity here for SMEs to use these tools and removed most of the other technology that we're using. So I think
CRMs then?
so CRM's client relationship management tool. So CRM, so it's basically just database. Yes, database all your customers, which we use Airtable for, by the way. Fantastic tool for it. So what this gives SMEs the opportunity to do, and all businesses in general, is to spend more time on the high value tasks. As I mentioned before, we want to remove a lot of that repetitive, mundane, the tasks that take hours and hours and hours, but are absolutely essential, but not income generating, if you like, and then spend less time on those, spend more time with your customers. That will in turn increase profitability of your business. If you can increase the profit per employee, if you can double or triple that, you're going to be in a much better position. It's actually going to be easier to scale your business. If you are in a business and you know that profit per employee is £60,000 and you can double that to 120, it becomes a much less risky thing bringing somebody on and training them, and that costing you £25,000, £30,000 to do, than previously at £60,000, because obviously not everybody lasts. So the risk was definitely there. So I see that this is a huge opportunity for us to be able to lean into that and spend more time on those things that are going to be more valuable. And the great thing as well is when you do bring people in, you've got an opportunity to spend more time with that person, get them up to speed. And then there are even tools that can help train them at a really, really high level in a much more effective way. So there's lots of studies that have been done that show that people that have one-to-one tutoring are much more successful versus those that don't. And now with these tools, we have an opportunity to create agents, to create information sources that are essentially working as a one-to-one tutor, right? Which will help increase that knowledge. Learning has been one of the most valuable ways for me to use AI. My learning has sped up significantly since I've been using these tools. And I would definitely recommend using it to try and increase and improve your learning and information retention. We spoke about SaaS. Who knows? So a lot of people know what SaaS is, but SaaS is software as a service. So it's tools like CRMs. So it's things like HubSpot, things like even Microsoft is a SaaS company, it's a software company. So these companies have always been the most profitable companies around, and a huge number of them are either sweating or producing AI tools. Like I said, Airtable have got their own AI tool that will help you produce a database, because there are now tools that you can use to build a lot of those software products that used to cost 10, 20, 30, 100, 200, 500 pound a month. You can build them yourself. Give you an example. I needed a CRM. I needed a CRM, and I've used CRMs before. We use Airtable as basic database, very, very powerful. But what I needed is I needed a CRM that I could view everything that's going on, right? But then I wanted my developers to be able to see confirmed or upcoming and confirmed projects so that they can scope those projects out for me and then just put that information into the CRM. I needed it to have a separate login and separate view for business development managers that we've got so that they can only see the deals that they're bringing in, right? And then I needed a separate view for our accountant. So our accountant can see upcoming deals and close deals so that he can raise invoices and we can talk about finances at the end of the month. While these things exist within a CRM, one, I'd have to go and search for it. And I've used loads and loads of different CRMs. And two, that I'd have to pay for it. A CRM like that would probably be looking at coming into the hundreds of pounds a month, right? So I needed a CRM that did all of that. Rather than going and hunting for a CRM and trying to find one that fit in, I built one. I literally built the exact CRM that I wanted with only the functionality that I needed using an AI tool. And this is the basic user interface. It's got all of the functionality that I just mentioned to you, and only what I needed. I used a tool called Replit, very, very powerful tool. It's probably one of the more expensive tools. So this one probably cost me $100 or $200 to build. But if I wanted to build that, if I asked my developers to build that, that would probably be about a £30,000, £40,000 job.
And would they have done it the same way that you did?
If I asked them to build it from scratch as opposed to using AI. So if we go back a few years before AI was able to develop these things, would have cost me £30,000, £40,000 to build that first version. Easily.
But if you ask them now, they're going to use.
We'd use the AI, yeah, of course we would, yeah. So we'd use the AI to. But so when we develop tools, we'll weigh up the situation, right? So AI tools and AI development platforms are very good. Replit in particular is very powerful. You've got a couple others like Bolt, Lovable, Base 44 that are all very, very good as well. Don't worry, I'll share some resources with everybody at the end so you can find all these links. Very, very powerful tools, but they do come with certain limitations. Right. So if we're dealing with a company that, like ours, we might have a few hundred people in the CRM. I'm not putting everybody in there. I'm not putting all our email campaigns. It can comfortably handle that. It can comfortably handle the number of users that we're going to do. But if you needed an enterprise level solution, then you would need to consider how we would build that in a more custom way. But my expectation is that in the next sort of, I don't know, day, they'll probably release it so that it's powerful enough to take that. So with Replit, you can build applications that they claim can manage up to 1, 2, 3,000 users, which is pretty good. Yeah. And I will come back to it. We'll do some questions together. So with the smaller applications, you can do that. So I literally was able to do that. Replit has got SOC 2 certifications. They're pretty secure, but we don't put anything hypersensitive in here anyway. The business that we are, we do deal with medical industries, et cetera, but we have to build those in a different way because there's a lot of other considerations to make, right? But as a small business market and platforms, et cetera, works a treat. Similarly, I wanted a client portal. We do something called an AI exploration. So we go in and we sit with our clients. We actually spend time with team members from each one of the different divisions. We spend an entire day there and we record the whole thing. Right? I record it on this fancy little device as well. So this is a really powerful tool. So I can record my entire day with this and then I can give it to a trained AI and it will produce a report for me. It's bloody brilliant. So things that would have taken me several days, I can now do in a couple of hours. Right, so that means that I can give that value back to our clients. I can give them those reports and spend more consultative time sat with that client and explaining how they can then implement some of these solutions and how we can be an implementation partner. So we wanted a client portal that allowed our clients to log in, view all of the documents we produced for them. But then I thought, well, actually, we're an AI company, so we need to integrate this some way. I wanted an AI that they could speak to and ask questions about the documents and the conversations that we've had. So we incorporated and I built that exact tool. So on the right down there, that AI has access to all of the documents that I have uploaded into their platform. I can access their platforms and I can access my own platform from the admin portal. And they can only see, read, or manage any of their own documentation. And then we went a step further. And if they click into the exploration report, if they click into any one of those documents, there is an AI summary of that document. And then they can speak to an AI that only has access to that one document. So then it can be hyper-focused on answering, questions about that one document, because some of these explorations can be 30, 40 pages long, but we break it down into much more manageable pieces, and then each division can kind of manage what they're doing there. So I built that with AI. I built it. I did have the help of my team because I can't spend all of my time in it as much as I would love to, but not a single line of code did I write. Absolutely amazing. I had a conversation with it. Admittedly, there are times, and I'm sure we've all experienced this, that I would have pulled my hair out if I had any left, right? Because you do go a bit back and forth, and some tools are better at it than others. So Replit is the one that we use for our development, for our clients' development. It is more expensive, but it does yield better results for things like this in my experience. But if you're looking for something simple, if you're looking to produce a simple website, if you're looking to produce like a fairly simple application, Lovable is going to be quite a good platform to go for, right? Literally lovable.dev. Very, very powerful tool, and you can produce some really, really cool stuff within it. You have an idea and you can make it happen. That's the exciting thing for all of us in this room here, is that now, where we used to have to, we'd come up with an idea, but there was almost no way for us to implement that because the costs associated to getting even a minimum viable product live would have been tens of thousands of pounds. But now you can get an MVP live in a week for $120, right? And even less if you're only doing something small, right? You're going to notice a bit of a pattern here. I wanted to compare AI responses because I use all of the different AIs. As I mentioned, there are literally hundreds of models. For me, I'm always interested to see which one produces the results that I like. That's not something that anybody here really needs to worry about. Choose one. GPT is going to do the job. Copilot, which is GPT, is going to be enough, and Gemini is going to be enough for what you need. And if you want a bit of banter, Grok's great too. Okay. But I like to know all of the different ones, the open source ones and everything like that. So what I did is I built a platform that allows me to compare those results side by side using AI. And I connected it all to all of the main models that I like. And now I can go in and I can have a conversation. I can ask a question like, what is the meaning of life? None of which has ever given me 42, if anybody's ever seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I get quite a long-winded answer, but I can see those results side by side. So for me, it's very interesting. I think for every day, when you're using it, it's an interesting thing to see. But I just built that because I needed that. And that has become a tool that we are actually looking to release as a software product, right? So there are things like this that already exist. But ours allows you to see, 20 models side by side, right? So it's quite interesting. And this is the one that I think is quite powerful, especially for sort of smaller businesses. So I wanted to share this knowledge with people. I wanted to create a powerful membership that other people can join onto. By the way, this is going to be available in the near future. If anybody's interested in the resource pack, there'll be some information on how you can jump in with us. But essentially, what I want to be able to do is help share AI knowledge with the people that are interested in it, how they can use it with their business. So I built a membership platform using AI as well. right? And within this membership platform, it's exactly the same situation where you can access all of the information, so all of our AI news, which is managed by my WhatsApp AI, so it will summarize it and pop it straight into this platform, all the tools that we use, and then there's a community chat, blah, 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 all of that fun stuff. And a fun little AI, which you'll notice is a little cartoon face of me, if I could grow a good beard, right? That you can talk to and ask questions about all of the information that's in this platform, right? So it just shows you, you can build anything that you want now just by asking and prompting it, right? Am I still able to, nope, have I broken something? Here we go, right? So there's basically no end to the possibilities. There really isn't. If you come up with an idea and you like the idea enough, you can make that a reality. And the thing that remains true, right? So there's a couple of things that I say to people that remain true no matter what. One of those things is that data is oil, right? Data has always been one of, if not the most valuable source that we as businesses have. The more data that we have, the more valuable data that we have on our customers, our clients, our industry, the people that work with us, the more valuable that data could potentially be to somebody else, but also the more valuable that data is to us. That will always remain true. So if you can collect data, keep it accurate, keep it valuable, you're onto a winner, right? And then you can use AI to help manage, process, and get good insights out of the data. The other thing that remains true is that people buy people, right? And when you boil that down, people generally buy a feeling. They buy how you or your brand makes them feel. If it makes them feel safe, it makes them feel comfortable. That doesn't change, right? So the focus as we move into this world where it's so easy to produce these tools should be on how you can connect, genuinely connect with the people that you want to be your customers, right? Because that's how you're going to keep them, considering how difficult how much easier it is now to produce these things. You need to focus on those connections that you're going to make with those people. And as I said before, trying to be as human as possible with those other humans, because that's going to be what will yield you the best results and keep those customers on board, right? Because you can produce these tools and you just need to connect with those people to make sure that they want to purchase from you, right? That's the basic nuts and bolts of it. That's what I see that will remain true, and how we can use these tools to remain human, but also continue to grow our businesses. Right, so we're going to go back a step and I want to talk to you, I don't know what keeps doing that, but we're just going to click the button here. What is generative AI? Because that's what we're talking about here. We're essentially talking about generative AI. We're not quite at general AI intelligence just yet. Who knows whether or not we'll get there soon, or if the world will end before we get there. I don't know, right? But let's have fun with these things as we can. Let's try and be sensible with them as best we can. But generative AI, in a nutshell, is essentially software, if you like, that has been trained on huge data sets. As I mentioned, it is our combined knowledge, right? So it has had access to the entire internet, every piece of publicly accessible information, and in some cases, not publicly accessible information has been accessed as well. Private, not private. They literally just let it run rampage. I'm sure you've heard all of the lawsuits that are going on with OpenAI. They're just getting left, right, and center. You've got artists that are getting quite upset, sort of musicians and various other bits and bobs like that, because their information has just been scraped without any permission. But what's happened is the entire publicly available information on the internet has now been used. AI has consumed all of the publicly available information, and it's as smart as it is. So they're figuring out ways to make it smarter, right? So that's the basic. So it's been trained up on all of this data, and then it has got very, very high level pattern recognition. We're talking about the way you use your sentences, how punctuation is, etc., etc. And at the moment, as it stands, it's basically super advanced predictive text. It's predicting what the next word will be. They've done research, they do paragraphs or sentences at a time, but when you ask it a question, essentially it's going to predict what that next word is going to be. That's one of the reasons why it will just give you an answer, right? Even if the answer is wrong, it will give you an answer. The first time I experienced hallucinations was with Google Bard. Did anybody try Bard when it was terrible, terrible? So that was what they called it before it was Gemini. And I thought, you know what? I've got a Google test that I want to quickly spin through just to get the certification. Don't tell anybody this. So I thought, I know what I'll do is I'll use Bard to give me all the answers, because Bard is Google's AI. Surely it will know all of the answers, right? So I went through and I was like, right, okay, what's the answer to this question? I gave it the choices. This is the answer, and this is why it's the answer. I was like, you know, I believe you, Google. I believe you, Bard. You're telling me the truth here. I'm going to write this down. And then I gave it one of the questions with the answers, and it come back and it said, this is the answer, and this is why. I was like, that's definitely not the answer. You're a liar. So I went back to it and I said, no, that's not the answer. And then it said, this was quite a long time ago, by the way. And it came back and it said, oh, you're right. That's not the answer. This is the answer. And this is why it's the answer. I was like, you lying bastard. So I went back to it again. I said, no, that's not the answer. And it said, oh, you're right. That's not the answer. This is the answer. And this is why it's the answer. So it doesn't just give you an answer. It justifies why it's the answer. So it's the other thing to remember is that these AIs will still fib to us. They still hallucinate at the moment. There's research being done as to why. They think that it's the way that they were trained. So OpenAI recently released a paper that said they think they found out that it's because they're trained and rewarded to give an answer regardless to whether or not that answer is correct. And they're hoping to maybe rectify that, but who knows? They're better than they were, but if you're not sure, you 100% need to fact check it because it will blatantly lie and justify its lies in some situations as well. But that's just to give you an idea that we are not at end of days. It's not the AI is not going to take over just yet. But generally speaking, I do use my P's and Q's just in case. Right. And apparently it costs OpenAI quite a lot of money if you use your P's and Q's, which is funny in itself. All right. So that is the overview of what AI is. In a world where there are so many tools and there are an absurd amount of tools, this is a fraction of them, and they've all got AI built into them. Question is generally, where do we start? Right? And that comes down to what you're already doing and the tools that you're already using. My suggestion is avoid trying to put a square peg in a round hole. If you're already using Microsoft, it makes sense to use Microsoft tools. So the Microsoft AI platform is getting much better. They use GPT, Copilot's relatively good. If you use Google, like me, use the Google tools. Google Gemini is amazing. The functionality that it has is truly remarkable. Okay, so essentially that's in a nutshell what I've come to show you today, hopefully giving you the bit of the mindset of how can I use these AI tools, what they're capable of. But I wanted to leave a little bit of room at the end just to sort of ask and see what sort of questions that we have, do a bit of Q&A and potentially show you live. As I mentioned, I would sort of jump onto GPT and show you what that looks like. So I'll put it to everybody here. Let's get started. What are the questions? What would you like to see?
I'd like to find out how do you build an agent?
How do you build an agent? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Right, let me have a little look here. Because it's on two screens, you are going to have to bear with me because it's quite trippy when you're trying to look at two like that. I usually do it shared. So this is GPT. So when you see an agent, who knows what an agent is?
Can I just adjust?
Yeah,
Yeah,
what do you need to do?
you're not sharing the screen with the online people.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So if you just stop share.
Okay, let me have a little
You
look.
do it.
Yeah, that's fine. I've just got to get my mouse back, you see, because it's there we go. Stop share.
You bear with us online. We're just going to make sure that you can see this as well.
This one here.
Yeah. So you just share that screen, please.
Everybody sees it?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, we're back in the room. Who knows what an agent is? Nobody knows what an agent is. Right, so we've got an idea. Some people know what an agent is. So to give you an idea, don't need my clicker anymore. Just nice to hold something, isn't it? To give you an idea, when you come to GPT, you can have a standard conversation here. You can see that my developer mode is on. You don't need to worry about that. That's a really fun feature that we've added in or turned on. But basically, you can have a normal conversation with GPT, which is a bit of back and forth. So what's going to happen is if you're going and having that conversation with GPT, you might use it for a specific task, but then you'll go back and you'll keep using that same conversation for that same task. And then you might then have to start that conversation again and retrain another conversation to do that same thing, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're going down this route. An agent is essentially AI, it's the GPT or the Gemini or whatever platform that you use. It's that same platform, but you're giving it a set of instructions that it will follow every single time. So when you go back to it, it will just do that one task. So you can create an AI agent that would do your email marketing. You can do an AI agent that helps with your marketing strategy, et cetera, et cetera. The easiest way to produce these types of things on these platforms is by using, GPT call them GPTs, Gemini call them gems, Claude calls them projects. So they've all got a different name for them, which makes it really fun. But they all essentially are the same thing where you give it a set of instructions and it will repeat the same task over and over again. So you can see, if I can get my mouse back and get my bearings, these are some of the GPTs that we've done, that we've tested. Yeah, so you can see that we mess around with this regularly. So if I go into GPTs here, they've got an entire GPT library. So all of these are essentially pre-trained AI models that will complete a specific task. So one of the things that you can actually do when you are thinking about creating a GPT is you can actually come to, or a custom agent, you can come to this particular area within GPT. This is a paid functionality. I don't know that you actually get access to the library. You definitely can't create them on the free account. But you can't, I'm not sure if you can access the library, but you come here and you can search for whatever type of GPT that you want. All right, so if I spelt marketing right, I'm going to blame that on not being able to see it. There we go. So if I want a marketing agent, Did spell it like that time, didn't I?
Yeah.
Market, yeah. There, we'll just pretend that's marketing, all right? So you can then just search through and find GPTs that have already been built. And in some cases, they're going to be built by people that have got a really, really good understanding about how to prompt these AIs. But let's just say they don't have the GPT that we want. So I can go ahead and I can create one of these. And it's a very, very similar approach on any one of these platforms. So if I go into Gemini and I go there, you've got Gems, which is just explore gems, and you can do the same thing. So you can just create one there, it's the same. And then if you're on Microsoft, they are called agents. So if you are using Copilot, in the sidebar, you'll see the same thing. It's the same process. You have less functionality within Microsoft, but it's the same process. And Microsoft performs in a very, very similar way to this. You've got configure and you've got create. Create is very good if you're not 100% sure how you want or what you want with this agent, because you can literally just say to it, I need a marketing agent. Am I typing? Yeah, it's coming out. I need a marketing agent, right? So I'm just going to go and I'm going to put that. And then what they usually do is they go through a process with you to help form those instructions. It's not amazing, to be totally honest with you. It does an all right job, but if you can basically create a prompt and then add it in, you'll generally get better results. The way to do that is if you've got a conversation with one of these AIs that's already performing a task and it's performing it well, say to it, please, can you write me a prompt that I can use to train a GPT to perform this task? And it will give you the prompt that you can then literally copy and paste into this configure section here. You see that it started to write the prompt. It's not a very good one, but it started to write the prompt. But if you've already got one that's performing, that's how I would do it. In the resources that I'll give you access to, because there's going to be a QR code at the end, there is a prompt template. There is 2 prompt templates in there that everybody can have access to. One of them is a generic prompt template, and it's done in a way that uses Markdown, so hashtags for headings, etc., etc. Apparently, this is a very good way to get results from the AIs. We see very, very good results when we do it that way. And the other one is an image prompt, which, as I mentioned earlier on, we went through the process of taking articles, giving it to an AI and saying, look, can you read these articles and help me come up with a really, really good prompt that I can use for an AI to create one prompt, then images, as opposed to just creating the image. There's a little bit more thought that goes into it. You tend to get better results. So that would be my suggestion. So you can take the prompt template that I'm going to share with you. You can go to any one of the conversations that you're having and say, please use this template to create a prompt that I can use to train an AI to do this task. And then come into GPT, paste that in, go to Microsoft, paste that in, and then off you go. You can test it here, see what the results are. Remember that these AIs, they do behave inherently human. You know, they've been trained on our data. So treat it as if it were a new member of your team, because that's the reality. If you brought somebody into your team and you said, right, you're going to manage the marketing, see you later. All right, especially if they were fairly junior, they're probably not going to do an amazing job, right? So you need to give them as much information as possible. You need to say to them, this is our company information, this is what we believe in. If you're not sure, if you are not sure how to do this, then go back a step, come into a new chat, and you say to the new chat, you say, I need a marketing agent. Can you help me by questions needed to do this role effectively? Right? And you say to it, I need a marketing agent, can you help me, blah, 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 blah. And then it's going to ask you all those questions. You're taking the pressure off of yourself. The AI is going to ask you all those questions. You can answer those, and then you can say, right, now can you create me a prompt that I can give to an agent that will fulfill this task every single time, and it's going to have all the information it needs on your company. Right, so that's the easiest way to do it. The thing to remember on these, right, notice a lot of information. The thing to remember on these agents is when you get them to fulfill that same task over and over again, when you go to it and you start that new conversation with that agent, there's something called a context window. Does anybody know what that is? So a context window is just basically the length of the conversation. It's the amount of information that's gone in and out. As I mentioned to you before, AI is very good at a lot of things, and it's very human in the way that it behaves. And it's also very good at remembering the beginning and the end. Often the middle tends to get forgotten the same as we do, right? If we go on holiday and we have a great time, but then it's a terrible journey back, we'll often look back on the holiday and go, oh, that was a bit of a rubbish holiday, right? It is one of those things that happens, but they're similar. So the longer the context window gets, the less effective that agent's going to be. So my suggestion, when you're looking at it from a fairly cost-effective way, because we'll build agents that are self-learning, so they'll continually adapt and learn and make sure they've got all the most recent information, If you've got a marketing agent, when you start to notice that the conversation is getting quite long and you've given it a lot of information about campaigns that you've actually done, because when you start a new conversation, it's not going to have that information, is you say to the agent, give me a summary of everything that we've actually done, all of the campaigns that we've actually posted. I want a summary of that. If you've given it the information about how successful they were, it can give you all that too. Create a document, add that into the agent as a knowledge source. So you can attach documents into it. And then what you'll do is when you start the next conversation, it will have all of the info on the past month or 2 months worth of campaigns, as well as, so that it doesn't suggest the same campaigns over and over again.
So does this information go back into learning for the AI?
So
It's when you create, as you say, you filled it full of campaigns, some were successful, some were.
yes.
The AI learns that. How about your competitor down the road now using ChatGPT? Wants a successful campaign to do something similar.
Yeah.
Will it have learned?
So GPT, OpenAI claim, and I say claim because Sam Altman's an unhinged character and I'm sure he just does what he wants. Big companies generally tend to do that. They claim that they do not train when you're paying for the AI. If you're using the free versions of these AI models, all of the information you use is used to train the AI. While it's unlikely, in theory, that information could be regurgitated in some way, shape, or form in another conversation. Not going to be the same conversation, but if you gave it a piece of information that AI previously did not have, then in theory, that could then be used somewhere down the line for somebody else. The other thing to remember is that there are so many campaigns and so much evidence of successful campaigns. So people are going to be using it to get that information anyway. And we just need to make sure that we're using it too. So those are the things that you want to remember. If you want to keep your information safe and you don't want to upload it into GPT, for example, there are tools that you can use that allow you to use smaller language models. I was speaking about this earlier on, that you can have a conversation with that remain on your machine. So it doesn't go anywhere else. So there's a platform. I'll add this into the links at the end. So when you go through and you grab all of the resources, but there's a platform called LM Studio, and you can download some of the language models. You only want some of the small ones. So Google's got one called Gemma, which is actually quite good that I was testing out. There's a few others that are much, much smaller that can be on a machine, and you can have conversations with it. You can upload documents to it and it doesn't go anywhere. It stays on your machine, right? So there are ways of doing that. And not only that, that is going to be a more eco way of dealing with an AI because it's going to be on your machine. So actually, I think that we hopefully will move to a world where we are more frequently using small language models, and any general small request can be handled by an SLM, right? You can literally just go to that, do 90% of your queries on a small language model. And then when you've got a big task, then you can tackle it with a larger language model, right? So there's ways and means, right? So that's obviously a very long answer to your question. That's how you make an agent. Right, I hope that helps.
Following on from that, obviously one of the questions that we get as small businesses is we're getting thrown at us this legislation with GDPR, the new Data Use and Access Act, which actually tightens a lot of that down.
Mm-hmm.
And the frightening thing is obviously anywhere you're putting your data, anyone you're using, you've got to have data access agreements and other bits and pieces. How do you navigate through that as a small business? Because obviously a lot of these firms are American, which are now banned almost under Data Use and Access Act. Microsoft seems to have slipped through that, especially if you're on the 365 platform, because there you've got the governance and your conversations don't go outside. How do you get that governance?
So this is one that we are working on a lot with our clients, and it's one of the first things that we suggest because people have not had time to adapt, as we did with, for example, social media. When social media became available, while it was quick, we still had time to kind of get used to it. It then was incorporated into the governance, and people were saying you can't do this on socials, etc., etc. The same needs to be done with the AI models. The only thing really that you can do is assess the data that you're processing, understand the legalities involved in that data processing and what industry that you're in and the risk associated with that, and then find models that will allow you to process that. So exactly as you said, Microsoft have used GPT, but they've got their own version essentially of GPT that's separate to the one that we would use here. Right, so that's how, because they're going for the enterprise and they're slowly releasing things, etc., etc. I mean, if I'm honest, I feel like they've kind of dropped the ball because they don't have their own proper AI. They've got like a maths one that popped out the other day, but they don't have their own one. And they're going to be, but similarly with Google. So Google's got Gemini, that's incorporated with all of my documents and everything like that, just automatically added in unless you opt out of it, essentially. And they are going to similarly have those governance is in place. The reality of the situation is we are at the mercy of these companies. They don't want to do what they're supposed to do, then that's on them. But as long as you can prove and say, right, these are the companies I've used, these are the certifications that they've had, this fits within what I need to do as a company, and I have ticked my boxes. If they have a data breach and there's a problem with their information, it's not down to me having a password that's
You're the
password
control of the
123.
process.
Yeah. So as long as you don't have, as long as it's not your password being password 123 or something ridiculous like that, and it's them that have a breach, then in theory they are the ones that have that problem, right? It's only if, the thing I was really stress is make sure that you know what your responsibilities are and the data that and how you
That's
need
an
to process
uphill fight.
it
All
is.
the time with small
It is.
businesses.
It is, yeah. So it is a bit of a struggle, but as small businesses, we don't process super sensitive information most of the time.
But
So
then
generally
an
speaking,
email address is personal data,
Yeah.
which is 100% required to be covered.
it is. If you're B2C, much higher risk.
Yeah.
If you're B2B, which generally we're predominantly B2B, it's not as high risk as long as that email was publicly available. It's not a huge risk in comparison to. I'm going to come to you. I saw that so go on. There was a couple of questions.
We've got two online. We've got Anonymous. I would like to ask about CRM systems. We are setting up one for our new membership business. Could there be a better AI option for us?
CRMs, again, it's hard for me to make a suggestion without knowing more detail about your current situation. What I tend to suggest to small businesses is Airtable because it is so cost effective. They've got SOC 2, so the security certification is pretty good. They have an AI built into it as well, which will actually build your database for you, and it's free up to 1,000 records. So if it's a fairly small business, if it's like nothing too crazy, Airtable is going to be a really, really good option because you can go to the AI and say, I need a CRM. This is the information that I need stored on the CRM. Can you build it for me? And it will go away, it will build that for you, and then you can interact with it. And it's very easy, similar to a spreadsheet on steroids is what I like to call it. And you can have multiple tabs that are all linked together. So when we build the CRM, what we'll have is we'll have one record, which will be the business, but then we can have multiple people connected to that record as a contact within that business. So that's how we would manage that one. It'll probably be the most cost-effective one as well. So did you want to do that? I've seen. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost a follow-on from that. So curious about obviously using your services. So you mentioned that obviously a CRM as an SME, we could be spending hundreds of pounds a month for that, which is a cost over a period of time. But actually then coming to you and you supporting that journey and being able to use the AI, what investments are people making into creating the typical tools that people are using on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so for our services, if we were looking at building a CRM platform or something like that, if it's for a fairly small business and we can leverage AI, they generally start at about £4,000 or £5,000. And the functionality that you're going to get out of that would have been £50,000 worth of value previously. And then we'll sort of share. We're very open and honest with that. As I say, we've got a membership platform that's coming out, so we do share a bit of information because I understand that's not going to be within everybody's budget. But I like to share that knowledge because I think that there is a huge opportunity here because there's going to be displacement, there's going to be concerns. I know that a lot of people have that, is AI going to take my job concern? As it stands at the moment, it's not AI that will take your job, it's someone using AI that will take your job, someone that gets skilled with those things. Because the thing to remember is essentially history has repeated itself multiple times. If you go back hundreds of years, we've had several revolutions, anything down from the printing press that stopped people needing to learn how to write. Sewing stitches, if you knew specific stitches, would have been quite a valuable skill set. But then obviously when the machines come out, the skill set became managing those machines. And similarly to what we're seeing now, we're transitioning from being the person that has the skill set to complete a task to have the skill set to leverage AI and sort of collaborate with AI to complete that task at a higher scale, but still retain the human element to it, right? So again, long-winded answer to your question, about £4 or £5 is what it would start at for those. So I've got someone over here who's just wanted to...
Sorry, just coming back onto the CRM, and I don't want to just talk your business, but
Please.
there are far cheaper ways of implementing. You mentioned HubSpot earlier on. That's up to 5,000 records. You can have a free version, or you can pay £16 per user per month.
Yeah.
You got Mondays. You have Zerlo. You have Dynamics. You have Salesforce, which is the most expensive. But the issue that you have is then how you integrate that CRM into your other business tools. Because then if you go that route, there's additional cost. Some of these bigger vendors come in plug and play. So I can then just click a button, authorize the account, and I get some of that AI functionality built into my workflow when I'm only paying £16 per user per month. It's wonderful building all of this stuff, but that's not my area of expertise. I'm here to my core business is what I know. I want to be doing that 90% of the time. I don't want to be building an agent. I don't want to be building a CRM. I don't then want to be maintaining that CRM, paying a subscription that fundamentally you might be the best in the world, but you haven't got as much pockets aren't as deep as Microsoft or Salesforce or like.
Yeah.
So that's when you struggle, because I've seen companies try to build their own systems. They spend millions and millions of pounds. It's far fruitful actually buying a system off the shelf that fits 80-85% of your requirements, then forming a relationship with that vendor and getting them to do some subsequent tweaks. It's a much cheaper way to buy.
Yeah, so I've seen just a few companies that have tried to use an off-the-shelf SaaS model the business process that is established doesn't always match what the software can do.
Yeah, correct.
So, and you don't also need a lot of the tools within it.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked the question, because I didn't know whether your answer was going to be
Yeah, of
grand,
course.
which
It's-
actually, if it was £1,000, then
It's much more cost effective.
it's worthwhile.
So,
So that
as
was the
well,
question.
to jump in, it's not that difficult to build basic systems. And I agree with you. The key is finding out what are your specific requirements. Because if you can use Airtable, which is one of the suggestions that I've made as a CRM, excellent tool, plug and play, you can connect it to various automation platforms. We build systems with Airtable as a database because it can find specific records, and that costs a fraction compared to actually trying to build out a proper RAG system, but it effectively does the same role.
Yeah.
So it's finding out, is Airtable, and in most cases, if I'm honest, most businesses, Airtable is perfectly fine and it's free up to 1,000 records. So anybody that comes to us and says we need a CRM, I will have that conversation. Right, what do you need? And if it turns out Airtable's a better solution, I'll say, to be honest with you, there's no point spending all of this money on this system because you can achieve this. However, what we can do is connect it to this, 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 and this at a fraction of the cost, which will generate you much better results. Right. So while we do start about that cost, there's not always a need for it. Please go. Free? Or?
Yeah, we've got 3 on online. What is the best platform to create social media content? Currently using ChatGPT and it's free. Any other free platforms? Also, we struggle to find royalty-free images to accompany our social media posts. Are there any free platforms that can create AI-generated images to use on social media?
So if you're looking to go down the free route, as I mentioned, free AIs are going to train on your data. So that's one thing to remember. The other thing to remember is there are limitations on what you can do. So if you do want to go down that route, what I have done and what I've shown people how to do is, because there are so many different AI tools, you'll be going across multiple different AI tools. So you'll be using GPT, and then you'll be using Gemini, then you'll be using Grok, because you'll exhaust the free versions of that quite quickly. You can produce pretty good images with GPT, well, actually very good images with GPT and with Gemini. You can edit those images with GPT and Gemini. So as I mentioned before, Gemini in particular, if I go to a new conversation with Gemini, Nano Banana, as I mentioned to you before, really, really good image editing tool. If I see if I can find, tell you what, let's go see if we can find an image that I do of desktop. He says desktop. We've got key documents. Lovely picture of me. No, lovely picture of me. There we go. What should I change into? How should we edit this image? Give me something fun.
Well, librarian.
A librarian with glasses, right? Do I want
Discworld.
Say again?
Librarian from Discworld.
A librarian for Deskworld.
From Discworld.
From Discworld. Right, okay. So we're going to go for, let's see if I'm typing. Right, change me into a librarian from Discworld. Yeah.
Let's find out in a minute.
Yeah, we'll find out. From Discworld, I want to be wearing glasses. Do I want to be
coming through, David from Old?
glasses that I've spelled like an absolute savage. Let's get that right. I'll put that down to not being able to see it. That's we're going to run with it, but apparently if you spell words wrong all the time, the AI starts to think you're stupid. I haven't looked into that, but someone said it to me a little while ago. There's an okay, well, I'll delete that. Right, don't think I'm stupid, please, Gemini. So I want to be wearing glasses, reading a book or anything else, or we're just going to go with this. Drinking coffee. Drinking coffee. Right, let's see how well this goes. I need an extra E. All right, so there we go. Wonderful image of me. But this just gives you an idea. So in terms of, and you can use this, the free version of Google will give you that option. And what I'll do is I'll move from this to another platform and just actually, I'll open it up now. because Google's actually got all of their experimental features. So if you want free, I think this is probably going to be one of the best places to go because you can continue to have conversations for free. So you've got aistudio.google.com, which I'll link in the resources as well. This is basically Google's AI Studio where you can use a lot of their features and functionality without needing to pay for it. And you've even got things like stream. So you can actually share your screen with an AI. If I click that, I can choose what screen I want to share, and then it will talk to me and talk me through. So if I get stuck, I could literally, well, why not do it? So if I share my screen and I say, Google, I'm trying to edit an image with Gemini. Oh, wow, it's giving me hair as well. Can you tell me how I might do that? No, it doesn't. It's done a pretty bad job. All right, anyway, Google was talking to us. We're just going to say that works quite well, but that will give us instructions on how to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and come off of that. But AI Studio is one of the best ones in terms of free. Let's go back here. I'm going to try this again because we asked for lots of things. This time I'm just going to say, give me glasses and a hat, make me a librarian, because it gave me all sorts of cool features.
How does it know it's you?
Because I'm telling it. Right, librarian.
Sometimes it's quite good not put me, so he doesn't know it's you.
Yeah.
Make this man.
Make this man. I do sometimes do that, but the reason I sometimes say give me is because on occasion what will happen is an AI might say, sorry, that violates our terms of service. So sometimes you'll upload an image and you'll say, can you do X, Y, Z to the image? And then it will say it can't. Right, there you go. Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
I wasn't getting those.
Yeah. So this is Google Gemini. They're nano banana. So if you go to Gemini, these are the sort of results that you get. Yeah. So
It might be the one.
it's really good. It's really, really good. And they're better at text on image now than they've ever been before as well. So you used to be that you'd get all jumbled and dodgy text, but now you get pretty good results.
Just put something like change my top to red.
Yeah.
Just to
Okay.
show the quickness how quick you can make changes.
So I did a video on this as well. I think you saw it, David. And I literally gave it a plate of food and I just asked it to swap an ingredient. And every single time it would just swap the ingredient out. And by the end, I had a completely different plate of food. Right? It really is. It is amazing. You know, we're talking about it's getting to a point where it is as good as, you know, some of the Photoshop or photo editing tools, and it's almost instant, removing backgrounds, everything like that. Really powerful. This is Google, yeah, this is Nano Banana. Gemini, GPT is pretty good as well. They're both slightly better at different things. So if I want to remove a background, I've found GPT's better at that. But in terms of free tools, Canva's free tools are pretty good as well. So you can combine that. Was there any others we're going to go for? Yes.
You talked about Google and Microsoft. What are Apple up to?
Oh, they have dropped the ball.
That's sort of subject if you're an Apple fan.
Yeah, oh,
aren't
they have dropped the ball. They're partnering with GPT, I think, on their new iPhone 17. But yeah, honestly, they have not done anything of any real excitement that I have seen yet. I am quietly hopeful, being a Mac user and an iPad user, reluctantly an iPhone user too. I'm quietly optimistic that they will do something and that they should, because every single day I'm seeing that there are language models dropping left, right, and center. So you'd like to think they've got a nice division and they're going to sneakily put something together and they go, hey guys, here's our AI. And then suddenly it becomes the best one. Right, let's hope.
Yeah, I would just want to add one thing in it, like he was talking about the question about content creation. So, these tools are like really good to create the image and for editing as well. But if we want to, have really more aesthetic sort of tools, so just want to add that Leonardo AI, I think you might have used it. If you give him a scenario that, hey, create a picture, a kid is sitting in boards and stuff. So he is able to, it is able to, create a really good image. It's just according to your description. So
Yeah.
just wanted to add that point.
Yeah.
For content creation, it's really useful.
Yeah, Leonardo AI is one of the leading ones. Yeah, it's a fantastic image generation tool.
Nano Banana now.
Yeah, you can use. So the great thing about a lot of those is they will tap into a lot of these image tools, the API for GPT and everything like that. But they're often like a wrapper for some of those where they help you craft a better prompt, which you can do. So similarly, you could come to one of the AIs and have that conversation, create the style or the aesthetic that you want, and then you can produce those same images. So the image prompt that's included in the resources today, I did exactly that, and then it creates really, really good on-brand image prompts, and then in turn the images as well.
5 online.
5, okay.
Karen, I'm receiving emails. Oops. don't quite know what's done that. I'm receiving email replies that are very obviously AI generated. I was thinking of getting something like Fixer AI. However, authenticity is so important to me. And I am drowning in emails. Any advice?
So is this, I'm assuming, is this to produce emails as a reply, or is this just to get rid of all the faff that you don't want? Or I can kind of...
So he's come back later on.
Yeah.
As a PR business, I'm wondering what these sorry, it's a completely different question. So Karen, if you could answer that,
Yeah.
we will come back to that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Alistair, the important thing is to remember that AI is another business tool. Unless you have got a handle on the underlying business process before bringing in AI tools,
Yep.
you are unlikely to see the full business benefits.
Yes, love that. I'm glad that was brought up. That's usually one that I do tackle as well. If it's broken, AI is not going to fix it. That's the reality of the situation. If you don't already have good workflows laid out, putting an AI on top of it is just going to exacerbate whatever problems occur. There was a couple of LinkedIn posts that I saw where people have done just that, tried to remove people from the business and everything. All it did is it just accelerated the problem and increased the problem. So when we work with businesses, when we do the explorations, if workflows are not already defined, if there isn't already something written down that we can use to train that AI, then we will have the conversation and say, you need to have this written down, we can help you with it, or you need to go away, define what that workflow is, and then we can work with you to incorporate these tools to help speed that up, help improve those processes. But it's not going to be a plaster that fixes all your problems. You need to solve a lot of those problems first. Anybody?
Thanks, Matt. That's a lot of your processes. WhatsApp, API. You can just, there are lots of tools that can just give you a YouTube summary of things. So
Yeah.
why are you building, why are you using the WhatsApp API?
So for me personally, I use WhatsApp. I'm assuming everybody in this room has WhatsApp. It's a very, very common communication channel, and that's all it is. So the AI that I've used is built somewhere else, and that would just be one of the mediums that you can use to have a conversation with it. Because I use WhatsApp so frequently, it's just easy for me to copy and paste it into a WhatsApp, and it will send it off. And the other benefit of that is I've trained it to then send me an email. It sends me a summary within WhatsApp, and I can choose specifically what information I want from that every single time. So the one that I have built, I've explained to it, I'm an AI consultant, I do this, I do that. This is the information that I need from my videos, and I only really send it AI videos. It doesn't get any cat videos. It does need to have a transcript for it to be able to work. But I will just send it those videos, and it knows what information I need from each one of those videos, so I get a much more personalized approach. But you can use Notebook LM. You can literally just paste it into Notebook LM, one of the best tools I've ever seen, and it will do all of the things that I've shown you. And it is a truly marvelous tool. So let's have a look. UK and AI governance. You get all of these funky little things. If nobody's seen this as well, I think this is the audio one. So if I click on that, this
All right,
is...
so today we're diving deep into AI governance.
Okay.
Specifically, how the UK and the EU are tackling this whole AI thing, you know, keeping it in check.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, these sources are amazing.
So I've literally done deep research on AI governance in the UK. I've taken all of those deep researches and I've added them into this notebook. And then I've clicked create a podcast, and that's created that podcast. And now they've added the feature where you can actually, so this is how I digest a lot of information, because there's loads and loads of it about. This is how I'll be like, okay, I've got, 150 pages that I want to deal with. I can ask for specific information within that, and it will give me the sources. Right, and the great thing about this is if you've got a source of information that you know is accurate and you're getting large documents from that, it will actually give you the sources directly so that you know it's not hallucinating. So if you go and you get PDFs from places where the information is accurate, this is a really good way to digest that. All right, and if I click play.
All right, so today we're diving deep into AI governance.
Okay. Oh, our listeners got something to share. Let's hear it.
Hi there, I was just really interested to know specifically what I need to consider as a small business in the UK.
That is such a fantastic question.
Yeah, that's really practical and super relevant right now.
We could definitely dive into that for you.
Because it's a little different than the EU, right?
Exactly. For a small,
So really, really great and engaging way to continue to learn, and it depends on how you learn. This works really well for me, but somebody else might just want to listen. Go on.
There's Microsoft.
No, unfortunately not. Google Heads, we get that one. But you do get 3 free notebooks, and I think you can get up to 50 data sources on there. So you'd still be able to use it. You can create a Google account with your Microsoft email address, and you just have the Google account, and it'll be fine. But unfortunately, this is ours. But Microsoft does have a really, really powerful suite, and we've got our Microsoft account as well as the Google account because we build a lot of these things in there. They've got a very powerful suite. They've got Google's Copilot Studio, and it pains me to say this out loud, but it's really good. And I've really enjoyed building in that platform. There's loads of things you can connect to. You can actually connect through to, you can get REST APIs in and out of there as well, which means you can connect to external tools. And you can also use, if you don't know what this is now, but you will know about it in the future, something called MCP, Model Context Protocol, which is basically, I suppose, the new version of an API for machine learning. And essentially it doesn't break the same way an API does, but you can connect to that. So you can give it tools, create an agent, and then say you need to connect to our CRM and do this, etc., and it will go and do it. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Go on.
So, question from Pat Legacy: what platform, paid or unpaid, would you recommend for creating videos? Not editing videos, but creating videos, e.g., with certain objects.
So, there are a few platforms you can use, and it's hard to give a definitive answer without knowing what sort of videos you want to create. But Google Veo is quite good at creating videos. It comes with sound as well. A lot of the videos are very short, so remember that these videos are going to be relatively short, so you're going to need to learn how to clip them together. But if you were using Google, for example, my suggestion would be to go down that route. I would use Google's Nano Banana to produce an image, and I would also use AI to help you create a storyboard for those images. So I would create multiple images as opposed to just trying to create one video. And then you would use AI, say, to create that storyboard, give that image to an AI video generation tool, which would either be Google Veo or Runway is particularly good. And then it can turn those into scenes from videos. There are really, really great videos that I've seen online of people transitioning and doing some really cool things, like turning themselves into aliens or giving themselves banana suits or whatever else that they want, and then turning those into videos or transitions and stuff like that. So rather than just kind of going, right, create me a video on XYZ, put a bit of thought into it, get the images and the storyboard written out, and then give that to Veo or Runway. It's probably what I would go down.
So is that the system that, say, YouTube, you said earlier on, you see adverts with Martin Lewis, and he's going to tell you you're going to make £50,000 in 2 days. We know they're not true. So is this what people are doing to create these videos?
So I would imagine a lot of these creators are going to start using these tools if they haven't already. A lot of them are.
What you're on about is that there's been scams.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, the scams.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't say it correct. That's exactly it.
So yes, I think the thing to remember is that
We know they're not real.
Yeah, no. They're going to get better. And I don't shy away from this topic because I think it's an important one. I showed you my voice. I cloned my voice, and it wasn't hard to do. So in terms of the sort of technology that exists to create more advanced scams, it is going to get more advanced. They are going to get harder to determine whether or not it is a scam, but there are going to be measures in place that help us protect ourselves. So there's a couple of good examples that I'll give you. O2 released a really cool one that you may have seen, where they basically produced an old lady AI. And what she is designed to do is keep scammers on the phone. So she'll be like, oh, dearie, I can't quite access this. Can you help me, etc. And she has kept scammers on the phone for like over an hour. And you hear them getting very upset with her and frustrated and things like that. But there are countermeasures in place. So there's an AI old lady designed to keep scammers on the phone, which is fantastic. And eventually what that will do is it will be keeping other AI scammers on the phone, etc., etc. So there's going to be routes that we go down like that. And as well as that, so I don't know who's Android phones, who's Google or anything like that. So I've got Google Pixel as well as the iPhone, but with the Google Pixel, what that actually allows me to do now is screen a call. So you might be able to have it on your Android phone. So if I don't know the number, I can press screen, and then it will answer the phone for me, and it will say, hi there, I'm the assistant of the person that owns this phone. Can you tell me why you're calling? And you can see the conversation live, and you can choose its next response. So then what you're able to do is actually avoid a huge amount of those conversations and those calls and those scams. So that's what we're...
That takes a point out telling them where to go.
If you want to... No, the thing is, I've got a friend of mine...
prompted to do that.
No, you could. A friend of mine does that. He's a very successful window cleaner. So as you can imagine, he's got a lot of time to speak on the phone. And he sent me some amazing recordings of him on the phone to some of these scammers, and they are hilarious. So it's similar to the old lady. He's doing the job, but he's doing it in real life, right? So yeah.
So that's friends as well.
Say again.
It's good to do it to your friends as well.
Yeah. Love that. So there's lots of
that, my friends.
Lots of uses, and now because you've got the voices, you can really play on it as well. So it'd be quite good. Eventually, if you had their voice, imagine doing it with their voice. But yeah, go on. Any other questions? Did you say you had a couple?
Just got a couple more online, if I may.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of going through them. There's a lot of other answers in here. Rebecca Rickwood, is there any other type of AI which could read your emails and draft responses for you? I think Copilot can do it, but it's a paid feature. On Gmail, they have this feature already embedded for free. Any other suggestions?
There are a few tools. I can't remember the name of the tools that sort of view your emails for you off the top of my head. You can actually create your own versions of them depending on what it is that you need. Gmail connects very nicely to a lot of automation platforms. So there's one that we use. It's called Make, and it's surprisingly easy to use, easier than it's ever been to use. So if you wanted something a bit more bespoke that you don't have to pay huge amounts for, the great thing about this is you can use it for lots of different solutions. You can literally connect up your Gmail, connect up to actually their AI. So they've got AI built into it now, and then it can essentially just review all of your emails and do whatever else you want to it, basically. Yeah. So I would probably look at going down that route. It might take an extra couple of hours just to learn how to do that, but you'll get a lot more functionality out of something like this versus having another piece of technology. One of the things that I'm sharing with people more and more now is that we used to live in, or still live in, a world where one company might have 25 different pieces of technology that they have to go in and log in and out of, etc., which is a massive headache. But now we're moving into a world with tools like Make, with tools like Replit or Bolt. You can build a huge chunk of these for you, and then you might just need your Airtable as your CRM, which is the basis of everything, and then you can have a few automations that connect your Airtable and your email and stuff like that.
So if we could have two more, we've got one from Terry. What is the best AI for making websites? Is there one? As a designer, I started using Webflow for sites. I've tried their AI, which built a very nice single landing page. Is there any AI that builds multiple page websites?
Yep. So I will show you two things just now. So you've got, oh, whoops, what have I done there? Oh, I hope nothing explodes. Click the button. This is Bolt. This is quite good in terms of a tool, very cheap. About £14 a month is what I'm being charged at the moment as well. Yeah, all good. So it's only £14 a month, and you can build websites very, very easily using this tool. There's another one called Lovable, which I haven't used as much, but I hear is moving past Bolt in terms of how well it functions. And then there's another one called Base 44, similar situation, but this is sufficient for a simple 3, 4, 5 page website. If you're not too concerned in terms of like the SEO thing, and we all know what SEO is, more and more challenging anyway. If you're a small business and SEO isn't an immediate concern for you, which the reality of it is usually is not, right? If you can focus on local, you just need somewhere for someone to land, Bolt's going to be excellent. It has, from what I've seen, been able to build websites with the SEO best practices in mind, so it can rank, but it just needs a bit more of a thought process. But to give you an example, this website, which is one of the sort of fun websites that I built, which is like and again, we've got my little version of me. This gives me a lot of entertainment, more than it probably should. This is one of the websites that I built with AI, entirely with AI. And as you can see, I've got this really cool little mouse cursor that's following me around. And then down the bottom, I've got a calculator that if you put in how many hours spent on a task, what the hourly rate is, and then the efficiency of the automation, so how much of that job we're going to help remove, it will actually tell you the amount of hours saved and cost saved. This was built by Bolt. I built this using Bolt. I did a similar thing with my daughter. We built her a little craft website, which she absolutely loves. And it's got a little picture of her flying around on an axolotl, which is brilliant. She really enjoys it. And the other cool thing that you can do, which again has given me far too much entertainment. Obviously on a mobile, you can't see a mouse. So I had to have my little head floating in the background. But you can have a mobile version of the site. I literally said to it, create me a mobile version of the site where X, Y, and Z happens. Right, so all of those things. So I'd say for a really cost-effective solution that is going to build you a snazzy-looking website, Bolt is going to do the job. Yeah, and it's pretty easy to connect up.
Last question from online, if we may. Anonymous, I am dreading creating a video post for LinkedIn. I have the content which AI tool can use to create a video with me as a cartoon imagery using voiceover in my voice. Thank you. So I imagine that what's the best tool for creating something like that?
So what you would do, is I'd probably use Gemini to make you into a cartoon. What style of cartoon should I be? I don't know if it's going to let me do it if I put the word Simpsons in, but we'll try.
Google does Simpson.
Yeah, Google does. Yeah, lets me do it. Okay, cool. Because I've not done that. South Park's a good one as well. Simpson style cartoon, or a Rick and Morty one's quite good banner as well. Right, so making it into a simple.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Say again.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, brilliant! I'm seeing people that are creating themselves into all sorts of Marvel characters, putting them in toys.
I've used that.
Yeah, it's good banner. So
What's the licensing?
so generally, Google puts a little icon on it.
Yeah.
I would always double check it. I'd always make sure that you know. A lot of these AI ones, I don't know if it still stands, but I read a little while ago that GPT were basically saying that any images produced by us are usable to the point where if you ended up in a lawsuit, they said that they would support lawsuits and stuff like that to prove. I don't know if that still stands. I read that quite a little while ago, but I remember reading about that. So in theory, these are usable. Generally speaking, as long as it's not commercial, you're not going to make any money off of it, you're in a better position. But I would always double check, right? Because I'm not involved in that law side to such a high point that I would put my name to it. I will always double check before I put that. But basically, if you're going to do that, create the cartoon with Gemini or GPT, and then I would take the cartoon and I would put it into a tool called Runway. So if I go to Runway, I'm just going to go ahead and put that Runway AI. Put it into Runway, because what you can do, Kling is another one as well that we do have. But if you put it into Runway, you can give it that image, and then you can do like a lip sync thing where you basically give it a voice and it will make it look like it's talking. So you can just give it the head, give it the voice, and it will make it look like it's talking. Probably the easiest way to do it. Yeah, all good? Perfect. Well, if we're all good and there are no more questions, one more quick question. Yeah, go on in.
On the website development tools, you said I asked it to make me a mobile version.
Yeah.
Is that separate
No,
from the
no.
main version, or is it the same site? Just
It's the same site, but basically if you have any issues with the mobile optimization, for example, then you would just take a screenshot of it, give it to the AI and say there's a problem with X, Y, and Z, and then it will fix it. But it designs it to be mobile first. I showed that to show you that you can have different animations for mobile and for desktop as well. Yeah, perfect. If that's everything. Yeah, I'm just going to hand over.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Perfect. Of course. Pleasure.
Well done.
Certainly an eye opener. Is everyone the right temperature? It feels quite cold to me. It's a bit cold. Is there a temperature control? Yeah. I've got this on and I'm still cold. Federation of Small Businesses. Just wanted to say a few words about who we are, why we exist, and what we do. I know some of you are members in the room. I don't know about online. Are we still online? Yeah. I don't know if online people are members as well, but why do we exist? What are we all about? So the Federation of Small Businesses started 51 years ago. Back in 1974, a self-employed man called Norman wrote to the Guardian newspaper, and he said it's not a good idea for the government to keep putting up national insurance for self-employed people. Why aren't they looking after us better? And he was amazed at the amount of interest that this generated. Loads of people said, you're quite right, we've got to do something about this. And that's how we started. The Federation of Small Businesses started as a lobbying organisation, and we are still very much a lobbying organisation. We are talking to politicians on all sides all the time about trying to make the landscape better for small businesses. We are the leading voice for the 5.5 million small businesses out there. So we are there to support people like you. So how do we go about that? Well, we are a not-for-profit membership organisation. So we exist just to look after our members. And we provide a whole range of support like unlimited free legal advice, unlimited free HR advice. There's 1,500 documents you can use if you want to save money and time on legal contracts and policies and that sort of thing. But two things I specifically wanted to mention today is, I'm sure a lot of you will know, earlier in the year, HMRC in their infinite wisdom decided that they were going to concentrate more on investigations for self-employed people and small businesses. So hopefully it's still unlikely that you'll get a tax investigation, but it is more likely now than it has been before. As a member of the FSB, you automatically get £100,000 worth of tax investigation insurance. And for that, we have ex-tax inspectors that work with us. So we have a telephone helpline as well. So first of all, you can phone our telephone helpline and get advice about your situation. And then if it goes to an investigation, you will be represented, if you choose to use your membership benefits, you will be represented by an ex-tax inspector who will negotiate for you with HMRC and try and make it go away or reduce the amount they say you owe them. And better than that, we will pay your accountant for any extra work that they're involved in as well. So in this day and age, that sort of protection can be very valuable. The other thing I was going to say is it's really tough out there at the moment, and it's difficult to get new clients and new business. When you do, you want to make absolutely certain they are going to pay you. So as a member of the FSB, you can do 10 free credit checks a year on clients or prospective clients to make sure they're the right sort of people for you to be dealing with. Also, if they end up or anyone ends up not paying you, we help with debt collection. We don't go around knocking on doors, but we do help you through the whole process to make sure you've got a better chance of saying the right thing at the right time. So if it goes to court, you're going to get your money back. There are lots and lots of other benefits. If you don't know about them, I'd be delighted to explain them to you. The last thing I'm going to say today is that during September, we have a special offer. If you want to look at joining the FSB before the end of the month, if you're not already a member, then we will give you £51 off the membership fee, your first annual membership fee, because we're 51 years old. We started in 1974. So that equates to a 25% reduction if you are a sole trader. We have different bands for numbers of employees. I'd be delighted to talk to anyone who wants to know more about it, either now or on the phone or a Zoom call later. Just give me a card, or you can take one of mine. I've got some on the table out there. Anyone got a quick question about FSB membership while I'm here? You all know it all good. You're all, hopefully all members are all going to become members. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
I mentioned some resources just in case anybody wondering about those. I'm going to pop that up if I can find.
Is this stuff what we can access?
Yeah, so basically there'll be a couple of questions. If it lets me click it, there you go. There'll be a couple of questions just to find out how you are getting on with AI and if it changes, but that'll give you access to all of the resources I've mentioned and links and prompts, etc., etc.
Let you all take a photo before I jump right through. You're okay. Perfect. I just want to say thank you very much for everyone attending today, and thank you to everyone online. Apologies for the technical issue. We will find out what's going on there. Just to say thank you for attending the Ambitious Essex Growth Hub event in partnership with the FSB. Hope you all enjoyed it. We do have another more events coming up. The next one is in Takeley, and that will be a photography workshop. So please keep an eye on our Eventbrite page, and we will all send you emails all about it. And yeah, and please, for everyone in person, we're now going to do some networking either in this room or in the foyer. And thank you to everyone online for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you.